These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
All right. Breaking news. Cue the sounder. I don't have a soundboard. Cue the sounder. Minnesota Twins have fired manager Rocco Baldelli here. The Twins will be looking for a new manager for 2026. My name's Declan Goff. That's my dog, Vinny, roaming around with the toy in his mouth. He will not be managing the Twins. What do you got something to say? Well, there you go. I don't think Vinny will be managing the Twins, but hit the like button, subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show. My name's Declan Goff. I cover the team in a podcast role for SKOR North. I cover the majority of home games, react to breaking news. Mackie, Judd, and myself still love talking baseball despite the Twins having a really rough season in 2025 and, to be honest, a rough 2024 too. So if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show as we try to react to what we know so far, what's to come, some potential candidates immediately already being bandied about as potential replacements for Rocco that we'll touch on here. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. You know, we did a full scorched episode today on the poll ads, mostly talking about how about the two articles that were released by the Star Tribune over the weekend about the steps they're taking and the response to fans and stuff. So go check that out if you haven't already. But headline obviously here today, Twins have announced they're parting with Rocco Baldelli. Rocco was the manager here since 2019. Led the Twins to 3 division titles in 2019, 2020, and 2023. He was the manager in 2023 when the Twins snapped their playoff losing streak, won some playoff games. They bowed out in the ALDS. They also were swept by the Yankees and the Astros in 2019 and 20 respectively. So here's what we know. This is some quotes have come out already from Derek Falvey. So we'll read those here on the show. So here's the first one. Over the past 7 years, Rocco has been more than our manager. He has been a trusted partner and teammate to me in leading this organization. Together, we shared a deep care for the Twins, for our players and staff, and for doing everything in our power to put this club in the best position to succeed. Along the way, we experienced some meaningful accomplishments, and I will always be proud of those, even as I wish we had ultimately achieved more. This is a difficult day because of what Rocco represents to so many people here. He led with honesty, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to our players and staff. He gave himself fully to this role, and I have a tremendous respect and gratitude for the way he carried himself and the way he showed up every single day. The game is ultimately measured by results, and over the past 2 seasons, we did not reach the goals we set. I take personal responsibility for that. After discussions with ownership, we determined that this is the right move for a change in voice and direction. This decision is not a reflection of Rocco's effort or leadership. It reflects where we are as an organization and the belief that a different voice is needed to help us move forward. I am grateful to Rocco, Allie, his wife, and their family for everything they have contributed to the Twins. His impact exceeds well beyond wins and losses, and it will remain part of the organization for years to come. So that's from Twins president Derek Falvey. There will be a press conference tomorrow morning kind of touching on the future and the decision here. I'll have more on that likely tomorrow. Coach Trev, I believe, is scheduled to join us tomorrow, so either I'll join you from Target Field or maybe I race back home here, but we'll have some more kind of clarity on the decision-making there to fire Rocco. I know when you hear me say that, you're probably even just wondering out loud. I don't think there's much of a decision there or much reasoning. He saw 2 collapses. The Twins have missed the playoffs 4 of the last 5 years, and yeah, all that is definitely relevant. Rocco was the 14th manager in Twins history. He had an overall record of .527 and .505, winning percentage of .511 over the 7 seasons. Only Tom Kelly and Ron Gardenhire managed more games than him. So, yeah, I mean, a few things here. And by the way, Joe Polad did give a quote on the decision here. I'll read that in just a bit, but just want to give you guys my kind of 2 cents. Covering this team for the last 2 years. Wasn't at the ballpark much this last month just because of, there he is again, there's Vinny, of my son being born. But being around Rocco I definitely changed some of my perspective of just seeing and observing as a fan, watching the first 4 or 5 years of him as a manager. And he definitely, with the media and with his just overall opinion and thoughts and the way he talked about baseball, I always thought kind of outweighed the public perception of how people feel about him. And I get it. I'm in a position here where I have a media credential and I get to ask him questions. I get to listen to him talk. I get to ask him things behind the scenes and build a relationship there. I had a very good rapport with him. I enjoyed talking baseball with him. And to be honest, if he ever were to pursue a career in media, I actually think there's something there. I also think there's a career for him in baseball that isn't maybe managing. Maybe it is still managing. I don't know what he wants to do. Maybe we'll be able to talk to Rocco at some point, or I can maybe try to reach out to him just to get his thoughts. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if he remains in baseball. I've always kind of had the assumption, and it's an assumption, it's not based in fact, that he doesn't strike me as someone who wants to manage a team forever, doesn't want to be in managing baseball forever. I think he wants to be around the game, and I do think he can bring value to an organization or to players or to a coaching staff or a front office, I guess, with however he wants to do it. But in terms of like a talking head and being a smart baseball mind, he is one. Like I know that's probably laughable to some. That's fine if you feel that way. But I do think he was a lot smarter and a lot more open and just a different cat than his typical quotes that are, on screen for Twins TV or at the time Valley Sports North. There's a different guy in there that I would love to see kind of unleashed, and I was able to witness that, and I'm grateful for that. However, before people start calling me a homer for all these takes, I do believe that this is absolutely the right decision to fire Rocco. It was time. When you missed the playoffs for the last 5 years, when you've been building yourselves as a contender in the American League on a wide open AL Central, and you fall short of that, and you're watching a team like Cleveland, who's in a very similar market and in a very similar situation, run away with not run away, because they obviously they had an historic takeover of the Central, so I shouldn't say run away with it. Regardless, at the end of the day, they've won their third division title in 4 years, and they've just outpaced Twins in general. They've outplayed the Twins in general. When you see a team like that do it, I understand why they had to make this decision. And I'm very curious on what that next manager looks like. Is that a former player? Is that someone who has ties to the org? Rocco had zero ties to the Twins. I mean, man, when you think of the Twins and how they go about their business and who they put in charge and in positions of power, it is guys that are typically have been in the organization for a long time. They're former players. They were a former, bench coach or third base coach, and they like to keep their core intact. Rocco had zero ties to the Twins before he got this job. He also had zero experience as a full-time manager. I believe a bench coach, quality control coach in Tampa Bay. I guess as I'm like kind of just thinking out loud, wouldn't shock me one bit if he goes back to Tampa Bay in some capacity with Kevin Cash again, like in another similar bench coach role, development role, front office role. That wouldn't shock me one bit. But I'm very curious to see who they hire here. Our guy Trevor Plouffe threw out a couple names on Twitter, and he's actually thrown them out on the show here before too. And Torrey Hunter, who has been pretty much estranged from the organization. He's been exiled from the organization, and he's now with the Angels. And another one maybe to watch is Justin Morneau. I think just if you're looking for a PR and a facelift and to give at least the Twins fans and the Minnesota sports fan base something to say, okay, let's see what this looks like, and I like this move. I think just initially on the surface, Torrey and Justin Morneau check that box immediately. Now, that doesn't mean they should blindly hire them because of those reasons. But this is a really interesting predicament for them to find themselves in, because right now they are immediately looking for the next manager. And I'm curious to see what that looks like. Torrey and Morneau, Torrey with the Angels, being on the staff there with Ron Washington, has been around the team. He has a connection with Royce Lewis. He has a connection with other players. Obviously, he's one of the best Twins of all time. However, again, like I don't think they should just go and immediately hire him, but I do think it'd be wise to consider him. Another name, obviously, in Morneau, who has been, the color commentator, has roots here. He's still here in Minnesota. I would be very curious to see like the vetting process on that, and how Justin Morneau kind of goes about it. That'd be an interesting one here. Brendan even says on our YouTube, drop me a comment too if you have suggestions for the next manager or just thoughts on this video as well as you hit the like button, subscribe button for Minnesota Twins content. Brendan says, number 1, Toby Gardenhire, who's managing the St. Paul Saints right now. Number 2, Trevor Plouffe. Trevor has said exclusively he wants no business in managing, but I like it. Torrey Hunter 3, Derek Shelton 4. I think you had a typo here, Brendan, and I'm not going to throw stones as someone who throws typos in there all the time. And then Bob Melvin, number 5. So Bob Melvin, let's work our way backwards here. Bob Melvin was just fired by the Giants today, so he is now looking for, I guess, a vacancy if he wants to continue managing. Melvin has experience with the Brewers and Athletics, if off the top of my head, if that serves right. Derek Shelton was Rocco's former bench coach who went to Pittsburgh. He was blown out. I wouldn't say Shelton is would be like the sexiest hire. I would though. I would consider he gets an interview or gets a look for this job. He's also doing like some MLB Network radio recently, but that's someone who also could maybe like be in the fix for it. I'd be very curious to see who else kind of shows up here as candidates. I was just perusing some other ones here. By the way, I'll give you those in just a second. I believe ESPN, was this from Jeff Passan? Or is this just the staff at ESPN? There are some top potential candidates here. I'll read those in just a bit. But Joe Polad, the Twins owner, executive chair owner, said on the decision to fire Rocco, after ongoing internal discussions, we believe this is the right time for a change in leadership of our major league team. These decisions are never easy, particularly given the respect we have for Rocco. He led with professionalism and care for both his players and our organization, and we are grateful for the way Rocco represented the Twins. Rocco, Allie, and their children will always be part of the Twins family, and we wish them the very best. By the way, at the end of this press release, the Twins will immediately begin their search for a new manager. The club's 2026 coaching staff will be determined by a new manager in collaboration with Derek Falvey and Vice President and GM Jeremy Zoll. So the staff will likely, it's kind of rare that like pitching coaches and hitting coaches and the rest of the staff don't survive this type of stuff. So Rocco and his staff, Matt Borgschulte was brought in here as the hitting coach for 2025. Pete Mackey's been here since Wes Johnson left to go back to college baseball. So interesting stuff there on ESPN right now. So here's some candidates. Some of these guys I have done. One of them already named in Bob Melvin. He's a top potential candidate. One other one that we've talked about before, James Rowson, who used to be the Twins hitting coach. Was that in 2018? I don't think he was the hitting coach for the Bomba Squad team. He was here before. So he was with, I believe, Paul Molitor's staff. But he's the current hitting coach with the Yankees. Again, ties to the organization. Twins love to bring back people. I'm not sure what Rowson's likelihood or will to want to manage. I'd have to manage most coaches. Just again, another assumption here. If you're a hitting coach, bench coach, quality control coach, whatever it is, you probably have aspirations of one day being a manager. So Rowson could be someone. Two names here, though, that we have not heard anything about. I know nothing about. Would have to do some more research. Both from the same organization, both from where Derek Falvey used to work. Two guys, I don't know if they were connected with that when they were there. The first name, Craig Albernaz, who is currently the associate manager for the Guardians. The other one is Kai Correa, who currently works as a field coordinator / director of defense, base running, and game strategy for the Guardians. So two guys there from Cleveland who are interesting names to maybe keep an eye on. Again, like they've already plucked one guy in Derek Falvey from Cleveland. I don't know if that's worked, but Cleveland, man, they find ways to win. Maybe there's guys on the Brewers staff. Should I just Google Brewers coaching staff here, see who comes up? Anyone that has maybe ties to the organization. So Pat Murphy obviously is the manager there. Ricky Weeks, remember Ricky Weeks? Great little power hitting second baseman there for Milwaukee. He's the associate manager, which is kind of cool. Love me some Ricky Weeks back in the day. But wouldn't be surprised if they, continue to kind of pluck from these other Midwest markets. Baseball's at a very significant disadvantage, obviously, with the way revenue sharing is set up, with TV rights deals, which are still like up in the air and super confusing, whatnot. So yeah, those are two names too: Craig Albernaz and Kai Correa, both in Cleveland. That ESPN has kind of thrown out as potential candidates. May as well, I guess, read the other candidates for the Giants job. Bob Melvin, who was fired also today. Some names here that you recognize. Dusty Baker, who managed the Giants from 93 to 02 back in the day, and then also managed the Stros. Bruce Bochy, who's current manager of the Rangers. Ryan Flaherty, who's currently the bench coach with the Cubs. Played 8 years, bounced around between the Birds, the Braves, and the Guards. Skip Schumacher. I like this one a lot, just on the surface. Skip Schumacher was phenomenal with that Marlins team in 2023. They had a change in leadership. Miami is just, don't get me wrong. I don't love how the way the Twins are run. I think they put their foot in their mouths on time and time again and step in their own, sideshow bobbing on the rake. But Skip Schumacher in Miami, that was a disastrous end, and he basically walked away from that job. He's in the Rangers front office right now. That would be someone you have to try to interview him, I guess, would be my initial thoughts there. Skip Schumacher would be a fun former player, really scrappy dude with St. Louis back in the day. It was an awesome fantasy baseball. I don't play fantasy baseball much anymore. Actually, I don't play it at all. But fantasy baseball back in the day, Skip Schumacher was always great because you could play 4 positions. You could plug and play him away anywhere. Good OBP guy, still on base guy. That's also someone to maybe keep an eye out for. What else here on the SKOR North Twins Show? Mookie says here, how about Wes Johnson? I think Wes is probably doing just fine. Is he at LSU, right? Is that where Wes Johnson went back after he left the Twins in the middle of the season? He's probably doing just fine as a college coach. Georgia Bulldogs. Sorry, Georgia Bulldogs is where Wes went. He was the pitching coach with LSU. He's now the manager of the Dogs. So interesting one there. Mitch King says, I'm just gonna keep throwing. If you guys got suggestions, hit me up. Mitch King says, hire Craig Biggio. Okay, I like that. Biggio, another guy, very, very good player for Houston back in the day. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Jake says here, Falvey will have ties to Sandy Alomar Jr. Write that down. Sandy will be the Twins manager. Okay, I like that one too. Brandon Baker says Corey Koski, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Don't know what Koski's interest in managing or if he really would fit the mold there, but that's an interesting one. Michael says Ozzie Guillen. Man, that would be a trip, huh? That'd be a polar 180 of what the Twins do. That could be super fun. Peter, Nelson Cruz. Man, Nelson Cruz kind of ran that clubhouse to a degree, right? So that could be one that'd be interesting to bring in. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Yeah, those are all good ones, guys. I like this one. Jacob Mickles, Joe Madden. Joe, let's see here. So he was with the Cubbies. What's he doing right now? He's 71. I always feel like he was so much younger than that. 71 years old. Went to the Angels. I remember he got fired from the Angels. I don't think he's in baseball. Is he in baseball? Since being fired by the Angels in 2022? I'm not sure. I think I've seen him do some media stuff. But a guy who has a history of winning. Yeah, he's been on MLB Network. I've seen him. That's where he was. I've seen him on MLB Network. Yeah, wouldn't mind, I guess, him getting a look. My guy Mike Posh has Doug Minkiewicz. Fiery, awesome dude who coached even Buxton back in the low minors. I'd be very surprised if that was it. Yeah, here's one. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people throwing out Michael Kadire. Another interesting guy that I think was with the organization, but then like left, and I think he's been USA Baseball, and he was in town for the Koski Hall of Fame thing too. So Cuddy, like I wouldn't mind. I don't know if Cuddy would be a manager. I would not mind seeing him like involved with the coaching staff or with development or something like that. That could be fun. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all either. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one, guys. A-Rod, yeah, I think A-Rod's probably pretty busy with the Wolves. Well, I figured I'd just jump on here, dudes and ladies and gentlemen. Hop on here and talk some Twins with you guys. Talk this breaking news. Again, Rocco Baldelli fired, let go with the Twins here. After 7 seasons, the Twins will be looking for a new manager of this orifice for my Office fans and references there. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what's next here. We'll hear from Falvey and I believe Jeremy Zoll tomorrow, so we'll have a little bit more clarity and info on that. I would love to hear more on this. I mean, it's not necessarily like a surprise they parted with Rocco, but for an organization and like team that doesn't love sudden change or really shaking things up, this is still, I think, a fairly good surprise, but the right move to make. Definitely the right move to make. Hey, hit the like button, subscribe button here. Had like almost 500 people hanging out and watching, so I appreciate you guys. I will still be pumping out plenty of Twins content here. Any other breaking news as the Twins are watching postseason baseball, which starts tomorrow. I love playoff baseball, man. It's one of my favorite things to watch. When the Twins are in it, I'm typically, when I'm a fan, I'm a nervous wreck, completely different dude. But playoff baseball, the intensity, and there's something about it. It's exciting, which is a damn shame that the Twins aren't in it, because Twins fans would love to see that. But I am still going to be reacting to everything here. Still plan to cover the Twins, even with my son now here and born, and he's doing well, gaining weight, eating all the time, crapping his pants, all that fun stuff. Still plan to cover the Twins here for a long time. So thank you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe button. More Twins content coming tomorrow. Our guy, Coach Trev, actually, I just heard from our dude, Coach Trev. He is in for tomorrow, so we'll get Trevor Plouffe's thoughts on this too. And yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you, and we will be talking at you soon.